welcome to the latest installment of My Dad Listens to This Self-Quarantine Edition. I'm Juliet the daughter.
And I'm the self-quarantine dad, Kevin.
And, we're both home right now, but the good news is because we're both home, we're going to be able to crank out more podcast episodes since I don't got to go to school no more. Well, I do. I just have to take online classes. But the point is, we'll both be around to make some episodes. So, Dad, what are we talking about today? The question we asked was, Leslie Knope says that this band's music will last the test of time. And, Dad, what band would that be?
That, of course, would be Squeeze.
All right, let's hear some info about Squeeze.
Okay, the founding and constant members of Squeeze are Chris Difford on guitars, vocals, and lyrics.
Chris, what?
Difford.
Okay, it sounded like Chris Difford. I'm like, that's his full name? Like,
Difford.
It sounded like one name, the way you said it.
Can I continue?
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
And Glenn Tilbrook, vocals, guitar, and music. Difford says they met when he placed an ad in a sweet shop. Very British.
Sweet shops.
Yep. Placed an ad in the sweet shop window, and Tilbrook was the only one who responded.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
That's fate.
Yeah, that's the other way.
They began writing songs together, and soon Jules Holland, who played keyboards, and Paul Gunn on drums joined. They named themselves Squeeze after the Velvet Ground's critically trashed album of the same name, because at that time, all the original Velvet members were gone by then. They played the pub circuit, and in 1976 added bassist Harry Kukuli and replaced Gunn with Gilson Lavis, a former tour manager and drummer for Chuck Berry.
Cool.
They signed to Miles Copeland's BTM label, which went bankrupt before they could release their first single, Take Me, I'm Yours.
Oof.
John Cale, a former Velvet Underground member, produced their first album, UK Squeeze. It was not a good fit. Difford and Tilbrook had a bunch of songs ready to go, but John Cale threw them out and forced them to write songs on the spot.
Oh dear.
Take Me, I'm Yours did help the album become a moderate hit in the UK, but it was their second album, Cool for Cats, produced by John Wood, that was the breakthrough and more representative of their sound. Like a lot of people look at that one as their true first album.
First one. The other one's was just a fluke in the timeline.
Was just poop. They got 2 number 2 hits in the UK from it, the title track and the brilliant Up the Junction. Great.
Never heard that before.
It's on their, it's on Cool for Cats, obviously, and it's probably on almost every compilation that they've put out since then.
Gotcha.
Harry Kukuli was fired from the band, and John Bentley was hired to play bass. Then came Argy Bargy, and then the Lennon and McCartney comparisons.
Oh, I always thought it was Argy Bargy. I didn't know it was Argy Bargy.
Well, I don't know. I've always called it Argy Bargy. It could be Argy Bargy. I don't know.
Correct us in the comments in the phonetic pronunciation, please.
Or let us enjoy the pronunciations that we've both settled on.
Either way, it'll help.
Okay. So, Another Nail in My Heart, Pulling Muscles from the Shell, and If I Didn't Love You were hits on college radio. You gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, way back then, I mean, WBRU was around, and
rest in peace, WBRU. We've already explained what that is, and I think it was our Elastica episode, so go back and check if you want to learn about WBRU.
And the album made it all the way to number 71.
All right, better than dead last
on the U.S. charts.
Ooh.
Jules Holland left in 1980 to pursue more of a boogie-woogie sound and formed the Millionaires, and so Paul Carrack was hired to play keyboards. Next came East Side Story, which we'll get into more detail later.
Yeah.
Tempted made it into the U.S. Top 50.
Yep.
And Carrack left the end of 1981 to join Carlene Carter's band. Now there's an opportunity. Okay, that was a little too smart-ass. I have Carlene Carter's stuff. I love her stuff, but I'm just thinking, guy, you could have made more of a go with it at Squeeze, but I guess he really wanted to be in her band, which makes me wonder if they had something going.
Maybe, who knows?
Not me. Classically trained pianist Don Snow then joined the band.
That's a cool name.
Sweets from a Stranger came out in 1982, and it was their highest charting album, peaking at number 32.
All right!
But it was kind of an uneven album, and I remember being a little disappointed with the sound. Too synthy, too many keyboards.
Oh, we'll talk about synths later.
Not enough guitar. But Black Coffee in Bed was the modest hit from this one. Then Difford and Tilbrook decided to disband in 1982. And I remember seeing them on Saturday Night Live, which was like, at the time, their last televised performance before they broke up.
Oh, wow.
But they left us with the great singles, 45s and under compilation, just like a great career summary up to that point. One record just had everything that you needed. And of course, this album went to number 3 in the UK and went platinum in the United States.
All right, yay, they did it!
Yeah, after they broke up.
Oh, shit.
At that point, they put out an album called Difford and Tilbrook, which I think Uncle Michael may have been the only person to have bought that album.
Oh, no. Well, maybe the only person in the U.S.
Could have been.
Somewhere in the UK?
They wrote for other singers, and they got the band back together in 1985. This time it was Difford, Tilbrook, Jules Holland, Gilson Lavis, who was driving a cab, for God's sake, at that time. He was driving a cab!
Oh.
And Keith Wilkinson on bass. Cozy Fan, or maybe it's Cozy Fan Tutti Frutti, came out in 1985, and that title's a takeoff on a Mozart opera called Cozy Fan Tutti.
Oh.
And this was followed by Babylon and On in 1986, which spawned their huge hit, Hourglass.
I love Hourglass so much.
And
I can't cover that song.
Having a video on MTV definitely helped that song, because everyone knew that Take It to the Bridge, Throw it Overboard on that. Yeah.
That video is also pretty batshit. Like, you could still find it on YouTube, and oh man, it was just as if the visual effects guy was like, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want, and you guys are gonna have to deal with it. And if you stare at it too long, it's like, this hurts my head. But hey, still a great song.
Okay, so from this point on, and there were more lineup changes, there was another breakup, another reunion, and they're still keeping on. I just, from reading that review, I wish I'd been there to see them. But I have seen them twice, both times in the 80s, which we'll get to. Wikipedia page, someone made a band member timeline chart for all 24 participants.
Oh, whoever did that, good for you. Oh my god. Maybe in a past life.
And it could have been, but
well,
yeah.
I don't think any of them are dead, though. So,
no. Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook.
Now, I remember the last time I saw Squeeze was they did a performance on, like, I guess she likes their band. But they had a different guy singing than the guy who sings on the album, but we'll probably get to that later.
Oh, we will get into how I came across them. I titled it How I Met, in quotation marks, Squeeze. It should have been more like, how I found out about the band.
Oh, man.
Sorry. Now, your Uncle Joey's friend John made a cassette for Uncle Joey of, like, all these different new wave punk songs back in 1980.
New wave.
It was kind of like, it was sort of like a combination of punk and maybe pop, maybe more of a sort of...
Right, so you got this. He got this, I should say.
Yeah. And so he actually put some Squeeze songs on it. He put on Pulling Muscles and Another Nail in My Heart. And Uncle Joey, this is really great. There are people out there who are making music like this. Where can I find this stuff?
Now, why do you think it was funny? Has he ever told you?
Muscles.
Oh, it's the seafood.
Yeah.
Like the one he likes in the in that pasta dish he likes to get at Davenport's.
Yeah. So so he thought it was Pulling Muscles for Michelle.
Pulling muscles.
Like, I guess you've got
Michelle?
some guy who's like posing and showing off, and I pulled a muscle for Michelle. I hope she appreciates these poses I'm doing. Oh, that hurts.
Oh, dear Lord.
I know.
All right, anyway.
Anyway, that's rock and roll, baby, because no one has any idea what lyrics mean. No. This is why having them printed helps.
Exactly.
Anyway, I don't know how, but I don't know if John made it for me, but I managed to get a copy of Argy Bargy on cassette. And then when East Side Story came out, I bought the vinyl. And then I bought Sweets from a Stranger on cassette, because the mentality at the time was that, records could skip, they could get scratches, but cassettes were forever, baby, until you played them at least 5 times and they started dragging and blah, blah,
and then the tape would get
in the machine and get tangled, and I'd have to get a little pencil and try and get it out and re-spool it and what have you.
I remember doing that with my Harry Potter tapes.
And then they broke up in 1985, and that was kind of it, but for me anyway. And then, Hourglass came out of nowhere and thought, wow, okay, this is still relevant, good for them. And when Hourglass came out, I remember working really hard to get the Take It to the Bridge chorus memorized.
Oh,
you got to do it now.
Yeah.
Take it to the bridge, throw it overboard, see if you can swim. Back up to the shore, no one's in the house, everyone is out, all the lights are on and the blinds are down.
And then that repeats 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and that took a while for me to remember. I mean, at my age now, I'm surprised I still remember it.
It's ingrained in your memory.
When I'm in the old folks' home, I'll just be babbling that over and over and over.
That's nice, Mr. Antonio. You want your applesauce?
Yes, please.
Be quiet about 50 minutes.
I'll be good. Though, like I said before, I did see him twice in the 80s. Once at P-PAC, and the reason was because Katrina and the Waves were gonna open for them. I had never seen them before. Oh. But Katrina went and broke her leg, and that was that.
Shit. Did they get anyone else, or were they just like...
I can't remember. I think it was just them.
Oh, okay.
And then the second time I saw them was at Great Woods, which is now known as the Xfinity Center. It was Great Woods, then the Tweeter Center. Oh, then it was Xfinity, then it was Comcast.
Yeah.
It could be Comcast now, I guess.
I still call it Xfinity because that's how I knew it as a kid.
I still call it Great Woods because I'm old. And the Smithereens opened for that show. Okay, so now we get to East Side Story. This was going to be their Sgt. Pepper, but it turned into... Can I talk? I believe I have the microphone. But it turned into more of a one-record white album. The original idea was for them to make a 2-record set and have 4 producers, one for each side. And those producers were going to be Dave Edmunds, Elvis Costello, Nick Lowe, and, wait for it.
Oh, I'm scared.
Paul McCartney.
That would have been interesting to see what Paul would have done with it. I think Elvis would have tried to make it sound more like him. I don't know what the other guys would have done.
Well, now they were all up for it, but the logistics just did not work out.
Aw, man.
So Dave Edmunds produced the first song, and your boy Elvis kind of sort of produced the rest. Roger Bacharian, or maybe is it Roger Bacarian, actually did the knob twiddling. He manned the board. Elvis was more like, try this, try that, don't like that, like this kind of thing. And the thing was like, Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook were both in awe of Elvis Costello.
Aww.
And I think they were just afraid to say anything to him to make him upset. But I think it was Glenn Tilbrook who said that having Elvis in the studio spurred them on to write really, write the best possible songs that they possibly could.
Oh, really? Write the best they could? Huh? Him? Okay, sure.
Well, I guess, I know how you feel about Elvis. And
that explains some of the song titles and the lyrics.
But at the time, he was like, the be-all and the end-all of...
He was hot shit, but now he's just a turd.
Oh!
I said it! Fight me all you want, English. Elvis Costello, O-B-E.
Okay, anyway, back to East Side. This broke them out of the New Wave label because, a lot of the songs are influenced by rockabilly, R&B, blue-eyed soul, Mersey beat, a little psychedelia, and I also think a little disco. Paul Carrack had replaced Jules Holland on the keyboards and got to sing the lead vocal on Tempted, their best-known hit at the time.
Bring him back!
So then he left... And now who's going to sing it?
The other guy.
Yeah, that would be Glenn Tilbrook, who did the bulk of the singing. But Paul did come back in the early 90s for a bit. And so, of course, East Side Story did better in the UK than in the US. But to this day, on both sides of the shore, it's looked on as their greatest achievement. And I always thought the album cover was interesting because it was kind of almost like an omen of what was going to happen. Because if you look at it,
There's one guy leaning all the way out.
Which is Paul Carrack, the keyboard player. It's they're kind of pushing him out of the frame. Yeah, he's not going to be here for long. And I do remember seeing a picture somewhere online of the cover shot, and they have someone holding his shoulder so that he could lean. Yeah, so that he could lean that far. And the thing that gets me is I used to have a pin of that album cover, and I also had a pin of the squeeze. You know how the E in the middle is squeezed?
Yeah.
The first E.
You lost them, didn't you?
I know I have them somewhere. I would never throw those pins out for any. And the thing was, back then, back in the 80s when that album came out, I used to work at Almax, which was a grocery store. I collect pins. I said, I'm sorry, it's not for sale. I'll give you $20 for that pin. Nope. Why not? I said, because I really like this pin. Oh. I don't have $20 and the pin's gone.
So
I gotta find
negative.
it. Yeah, double negative for now. I gotta find that. Okay.
The most perfect or typical example of equality or class. And as soon as I read that definition, I had an epiphany. There's already a better version of this song out there, and that's well respected. At first it seems like that, but then it gets interesting when you realize that he allegedly has a sweetheart who we can't see right now because she's away. It's set to music, even though the harmonies of the two singers are easy on the ears. This song isn't very memorable, except that you learn what the word quintessence means. Opener to an album ever.
Oh, you're out of your mind. That's one of the great album openers ever.
Nah.
Come on. This was the one that was produced by Dave Edmunds. And I just like the way it sounds, and I like the guitar riff that starts it off, and then the drums kick in and we're off. And I think it just has a great guitar solo. And it's like, these guys were not messing around. They just, came charging out of the gate with this song. And yeah, I've got to say, for all these years, I've never paid attention to the lyrics because, it's that thing of like, lyrics are always hard to make out. The verses anyway, the chorus you always know, but this really doesn't have a chorus in it at all. It's just you get the inquintessence every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I had to look up what it meant, and I came across, I think I got almost the same definition as you did, but I went for the second one, which was the central constituent of...
Yeah, the magazines and the tissues
But
are self-love.
I thought the lyrics were hilarious. And gets a couple of songwriting credits. He actually got one for the next song, Someone Else's Heart. But like I said, Elvis was just a presence in the studio more than anything else.
All right, next song, Someone Else's Heart. This song was better than in Quintessence, in my opinion. I like the key that it's set in. That bass solo intrigued me right away. The first few seconds of this song, it felt like there was a secret someone was going to tell. But, okay, I just want to clarify one thing. Is this song about two people finding out they're cheating on each other, or is it two people falling in love again after reading old love letters and diaries?
I think it's more of the latter.
I thought it was the latter. Okay. In both cases, though, it's a sad place to be in when you're worried that you don't love the person you're with anymore. Nothing makes sense, and you're just going through the motions. But once again, great key, great harmonies, and I love how the singer sounds like an apathetic bad boy.
Well, I kind of look at this almost the way the beat is and the way it starts with dum 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 with the bass. It's got that kind of like poppy feel.
That, yeah.
That popping in and I forgot what it's called. Anyway, this song is sung by Chris Difford, who does not have the most melodious of voices. But he writes the lyrics, so he can do what he wants.
Is it one of the things where if you wrote it, you sang it?
No, because the way the partnership worked out was he wrote all the lyrics and Glenn Tilbrook wrote all the music.
Okay.
Except there's one song on here where Tilbrook gets the solo credit, which we'll get to.
Get to later, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of looked at it a little different. Like, he and his girl are rifling through each other's past love letters only to find out that they broke someone else's heart before they met.
Ooh.
And then at the end he declares, we both indulged in each other's past.
Yeah, if you're going through each other's stuff, then I don't think it's going to last that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next song, Tempted.
Okay.
This is the first Squeeze song I ever remember liking. First has a great opening with the resonance of the drums and that one note sustained by the keyboard. Next comes in the singer, and I love his voice. He has the perfect quality of sound for a ballad. There's also that moment at the beginning where we hear him faintly sing, I bought a toothbrush, before he comes in singing with the lyrics, so maybe that was a studio gaffe they kept in the album, I don't know. Then there are the backup singers for The People Keep on Driving and Wishing I Was Well, and then the great bass for There's No Story I Could Tell. That's not like the real notes, but you know what I mean. Then there's something I never noticed before, when the singer lets out that, the cymbals come in immediately after, and it makes me picture the singer throwing a glass or something against a wall with the yell and the object breaks.
Yeah, it could be.
Ooh, cool. And it all comes together to tell the story of a guy who cheated and now he's skipping town on that person and he's not seeing anyone since. I also like how in the lyrics he's talking to his reflection because it's a nice way of writing that moment where the guy looks at himself in the mirror for a solid 5 minutes wondering what he'd done. And then there's the great wordplay where he says, I fumble for the clock, alarmed by the seduction. Great lyric writing, great songwriting, great song, and one I'd recommend if someone never heard Squeeze before. I did recommend it to my friends while I was listening to this because one of my friends was like, who the hell is Squeeze? And I'm like, oh, they did this song Tempted here. And I don't know if they listened to it or not. We'll see.
Yeah, I think, you brought up a good point about, he's looking at his reflection in the mirror. About the end, where he's like, and then the crash.
Oh, maybe shattered the mirror.
Maybe shattered the mirror. Okay, this is sung by Paul Carrack, who of course left after this album.
Come back, man.
Now he had a bigger hit back in 1975 with his band Ace, and it's called How Long. It was one of those great one-hit wonders, and you would know this song as soon as you heard it. And he's been he's played with so many different bands. He's done solo stuff. He was with Mike and the Mechanics. He's been in and out of Squeeze. He just does whatever he wants. When he played with Nick Lowe at Lupo's, Uncle Michael and I went back in 1986 to see the show. And after it was over, hanging out, and someone said, hey, see Jules throwing a fit because she just realized it's her boy Elvis. Your face is so red.
But then when the singer begins, the electronic music sounds like flies or mosquitoes whizzing around in the air, and it sucked me out of the moment. This effect doesn't remain for the rest of the song, but it does come back at the end, unfortunately. And I'm like, this is a song that's very Mets, but I think it would have been better if they tossed out the 80s, hey, we have a computer, let's do some cool shit with it. Anyway.
I mean, I think it works because it captures the languorous mood of just having one too many. And, I like how at the end it's like, there's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow, there's no tomorrow, there's no tomorrow. Tomorrow is here, which means the bar must have closed. But I think maybe the way Glenn Tilbrook is singing, and he's just like, half blasted. And I thought it was interesting where you said you thought it sounded like flies because he could just be in this dive, and the instruments just capture that whole mood really, really well of just like the slowness, and you're in a stupor. And
a place where nothing ever happens. Oh, wait, that's a different song. Anyway, this song is not heaven, it's hell, and that's kind of the point. This one, and those notes on the piano were the worst part. I kept saying, make it stop, over and over when I was listening to it. I kid you not. Even the singer sounded a little bit drunk, and then you have these gross lyrics like the beer mats are waiting on a table of froth. Blech. These people are trapped in a hell of their own making, and the song is an intentionally chaotic, god-awful mess. Especially the last part where the guy moaning sounds like a cow mooing. And
yeah.
And then they throw in a random-ass banjo for... Never put this song on for fun. I can't imagine the band playing this at a concert because it would be way too weird and it would kind of kill the mood.
That's interesting that you said it was a banjo because I always kind of thought that it was a sitar. It's doing Indian music.
Sitar has a different type of twang.
I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, this is Chris Difford on lead vocals. And it seems like, he saved this. I mean, it's kind of a mess because, again, it's another bar song. And, you've got the placemats who are just floating on, is it puke? Is it just beer?
Yeah.
And for years, I thought that meant something else. And then I looked up the word knackered and thought, okay, well, I'm a little disappointed.
What'd you think it meant?
I kind of thought... Yes. Anyway.
Woman's World, excuse me. I don't really have much to say about this song. I think it's about the jobs a woman has to do at home and then her family doesn't know what to do when the woman can't take it anymore. The one thing I will say about this song is that because it felt like a final chord or maybe a final bang on the drum would have wrapped up this song nicely with a little red bow. But they didn't, and there's a lingering feeling in the air of the song being unfinished. So, yeah, not too much.
Because a woman's work is never done.
Okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, not too much to say other than that. It was a bit too calming after the previous song, so maybe the next one will strike a happy medium or provide some balance. And then, no, it did not.
Okay. Back in the vinyl days, this was the last song on side one. And this one has lyrics and music both by Glenn Tilbrook. And, yeah, Portrait of a Fed-Up Housewife. The family watching her as she staggers up the hallway, makes herself a sandwich and, just goes up to bed. And it's like the family's, like the little details, like, she sees in the catalog a shiny new appliance and it's, another laborer's place. Very scientific. And I think, like I said at the end, I think the way it ends is because, the next day she's got to get up and do it all over again. But... maybe nowadays the rest of the family could help out. Yeah.
What a revolutionary idea.
And I think this song may have sparked a few domestic revolutions in the new wave homes anyway that bought the record. Because wives will be listening to this and going, okay, you guys.
That would be an interesting study to see.
Yeah, it could have happened.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, next song Is that love? No, it's not. Oh, this poor guy. His lady left her ring by the soap and left the ring by the soap as if to say, this ring's filthy, I don't want it anymore. The only part of the song that's catchy is the now is that as that. But other than that, the song is just pleasant on the ears, and that's kind of it. The lyrics are clever, but they don't stand out as some sort of genius, you know? You don't gasp or rewind to hear those lyrics or notes again. This reminds me of the video where a guy only knows one word to a song, and he's just sitting there the whole time, like, until that one word comes on, and then he just jams out and then goes back to resting. Maybe the next song will get my toe tapping a bit more.
Well, I think it's a great opening track to kick off side 2. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, you left my ring by the soap. Now, is that love? I looked at it as like, turns out near the end, yeah, it is. Because it's like, I looked at it as like, yeah, they get on each other's nerves, but at the end of the day...
I didn't get that. I was like,
well,
this is just hell.
Well, if you listen to the lyrics at the end, it's kind of like, yeah, this is how things are, but, you know, we're there for each other. And I think it's a great pop song overall. I love the guitar solo, and I love Gilson Lavis's in-your-face drumming. Yeah, I think it kind of does have a happy ending. It's kind of like, yeah, you get little, I don't know, inconsiderations or whatever. I mean, you really don't mean to. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's the big things that matter. And I mean, it's kind of like when you know, I read that line about you left my ring by the soap. I mean, every once in a while, your mom does leave her wedding rings by on the sink just because, I guess, they can swell up her fingers can swell up overnight, and it's just a lot easier for her to...
Well, also, Deanna told her, my cousin who's a physician's assistant said that if you leave your wedding ring on at night, it can cut off circulation in your finger, and that's not really good for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's probably maybe I should stop doing that.
That's why she takes it off at night, because Deanna told her that, and she's like, oh, God, I don't want anything bad to happen while I'm asleep. All right, next song.
So... Could that be my cause of death someday? How did he die?
Death by wedding ring. Oh God, that's
I wonder if that's a thing
bliss.
I wonder if that's a thing that's happened. I guess it probably has if people, you know.
I remember the one woman who her boyfriend wanted to propose to her. Like, they went to Wendy's to get some Frosties, and he put the wedding ring in the Frosty, and she swallowed it. It made news. I remember that, and like they took like an X-ray, and you could see like the ring hanging out in her rib cage, just chilling.
It like attached to one of the ribs?
No, but like you could see it in the X-ray. I don't know if it was attached to the ribs or if they found it like somewhere.
So do we know if it all came out in the end?
It all came out in the end, and they did get it. But Neffel was, I went, they censored a bad word! Now here's what I'm thinking.
My daughter the perv lady mother.
Yeah, sure. We'll stick to that. All right. Now here's what I'm thinking. This song is about two people who hook up and they have a pretty okay night, and he gets a guitar at the end, right? Well, if that's the case, why does this song... I thought the guy walking in was going to be your husband and then a fight would break out, but nope. Just standing there in your tie and nothing else on, all embarrassed. I thought the lyrics describing the women were interesting, especially with how she looks like Bela Lugosi to convey like a piercing stare and the wide eyes, but then also the filler in her face, which makes it sound like she has a little too much Botox. This woman sounds creepy and fascinating at the same time, and the most telling thing about her is that she tips her snowball so elegantly, but she leaves lipstick on the rim, meaning she always leaves a mark. Yet I don't think the music fits the lyrics, even though I love string instruments on pop, easy rock album. Between thinking that the songwriters used their time well and thinking, God, when will this end? It's a very fine line they're treading. Very odd song, but it leads right into the next one, so we'll see what's next.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say, this is still not my favorite song on the album, but I've never skipped over it. I will always listen to it, so there must be something there. I just don't know what it is. But I do love the lines about, then through the door he entered, short sleeves and arms of iron, and me with just my tie. Now I've handled all the bull, but not the cow. Oh. Yeah.
It reminds me of, like, do you remember on Moon Boy when they had, awkwardly facing her nieces and nephews while she cooked breakfast, and she'd be like, there's your bacon, you randy bastard. Yeah. And all the nieces and nephews were like, we're not here.
And I always liked at the end how, he gets the guitar with the F hole, which I think Nana probably still has Grandpa's guitar that has that F-shaped hole. He sings about, how he always likes to play her favorite country songs with one or two chords always going wrong, which instantly segues
Yep.
into...
Labeled with love. What a downer. Woman sells everything she owns, marries a guy from Texas, and then I remembered the guy in the previous song always missed one or two chords, so it works out. But damn, what a tragedy. The song goes on, and then they mention the bottle, and you feel sluggish as if you've been throwing them back yourself. I mean, goddamn.
You know, again, great character study, and yeah, it's about this woman who drinks too much, and you find out why. Like, you know, it starts off great where, you know, she meets this American pilot during World War II, and then she ends up moving to Texas, and then he becomes an alcoholic, and then it has a thing about, you know, he became drinker and she became mother. She knew that one day she'd be one or the other, and she ends up being
both.
Yeah, and it's, you know, goes back to England, and you know, the relatives are kind of like,
Oh, you.
yeah,
Hi.
yeah, hi,
Eh.
yeah, sorry, I can't help you. Country and
No, it doesn't.
there's a lot of like pop artists, I guess, who do like the one pseudo country song where you know, okay, something's missing. This really isn't a real country song. It's
Yeah.
kind of like we're gonna take a shot at it.
I was just grateful that they didn't do, like, the Paul McCartney Texan twang.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that sucked. All right, next, someone else's bell. I have no pity for this asshole. I had to stop listening. Basically, the premise is he and his wife are both sleeping with other people, and he's like, it's fine, it keeps us peaceful. Weird strategy for making a marriage work, but okay. Then he sees the person she's sleeping with, and he gets all butthurt. Oh, I'm just a punchline in someone else's joke. Excuse me? You're sleeping around too, you shithead. And golly gee, if you're done with all this, why not, you know, just get a divorce? Don't hang around if it's clear she's very much into this other guy. And gosh darn it, if you wanted to save your marriage so bad, maybe, I don't know, you both should have stopped sleeping around and gone to counseling and worked to save your marriage? What a chump.
Either that, or you know, maybe it's like, you know, one of these reasons and trying not to make us look stupid in public kind of thing.
They do that themselves, though.
Yeah, they're pretty good at it.
Honestly, apparently in her new documentary that's on Hulu, she's trying to, like, pass off as, like, a desperate housewife almost.
Like almost 40 years and counting of listening to this song. Up until now, I've had no idea what this song is about. And
Really?
again, you know, looking at lyrics
Oh, it helps, yes.
definitely helps. And you know, I love the arrangement, and that's all I really have to say about it. You definitely took the cake on this one.
All right, next song, Mumbo Jumbo. I like the descriptions of her getting ready to go out as the guy goes over to pick her up. A woman does have a lot to do to get ready for a date. And then the guy seems to enter a downward spiral as she distracts herself with letter writing and her cat and Scrabble.
Can we go? Can we go? Can we go? Can we go?
1 minute. This song is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but not the good mumbo jumbo. If you want a good mumbo jumbo song, just put on "I Am the Walrus" by John Lennon and go goo goo gajoob.
Well, I don't think it's mumbo jumbo so much as like words, as opposed to like something else keeps coming up. Something else keeps coming up because he's saying, you know, are you coming out? You know, are you coming out to play? You know, are we finally going to get to go out? Is this going? You know, is this going to happen? It's like, oh, got to do one more thing. Got to do this. Got to do this. Got to do this. You know, I like this.
She probably doesn't want to go out at all if she's distracting herself that much.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
That could be. But then why don't you just call and say, I've got corona. I can't go out with you. Sorry.
Makes me think of the line in Mean Girls. I can't. I'm sick. Boo, you whore. Hangs up the phone. Yeah, that's the line in the movie. Anyway.
But yeah, I like the song structure. I like the dun 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 dun. I'm not even sure if it's in 4/4 time. Maybe it is. I don't know how to count beyond 4.
All right, next song, Vanity Fair. I love this song a lot. It was wonderfully pleasant and told a story. When the cello came in, I thought, okay, don't hate it so far. But then more classical instruments were added with the violin and the flute, and I think I heard some horns, maybe a French horn, and then they stayed. The singer's voice is light and lovely to listen to, and the song tells a rather sweet story about a girl who's not quite all there in the head, but she definitely has her beauty going for her. And when I read the title, at first I thought this song would reference the book Vanity Fair, since, you know, this band is English after all, but it didn't, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't. I found the lyrics about her eyebrows in a tobacco tin and her eyes in a compact case as an odd way of saying she has eyebrow makeup and contact lenses, but maybe it's to imply that her beauty is not entirely,
Well, fake eyelashes, you can just keep them somewhere.
Yeah, not entirely natural, but
Because
wow.
it says that like her beauty is as deep as her
Yeah.
skin. That's it's all service. That's all you're getting.
When she puts it on, wow, what a knockout. I wish Squeeze wrote more songs like this, where it's their writing with classical instruments. That could have made for like a great piece of art that would not have been commercially successful, but it would have been a cult favorite, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've always kind of looked at this as like a sad song. I always felt bad for her. And I mean, it's a great character study. And I think songs like this definitely justify the Lennon and McCartney comparison.
I can see, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so sad.
Let's move on to the next one then. Messed around. I was pleasantly surprised at the end of this album with a 50s rock tribute, because I can hear Roy Orbison singing this in his early Ooby Dooby days. Poor girl, her heart got broken and now everything's all going wrong. We've had one of those days, honey, don't worry. And yet I think my favorite lyric is all the king's horses and all the king's men have come to mess her around. Yet, I don't know, the song didn't grab me, but if Roy sang it with his signature voice, maybe it would have.
I thought it was a great way to close the album, and the band did too. Yeah, I did some reading, and they said that Jules Holland would have been at home with this song if he had stayed. Especially with the piano solo, because Jules was moving more towards that music, like Barrel House, old stuff.
It's a fun way to go out.
Yeah, and Paul Carrick quits himself well, and then he left. Then he came back in 1993. Then he left again. And nice guitar solo by Glenn. I mean, it's something straight out of the 50s. And yeah, it's almost kind of like jarring after Vanity Fair. But again, I think you kind of need a song like this to close out the album.
Because you don't expect it.
Yeah, yeah. And just a great song overall.
All right. So, Leslie Knope says that Squeeze's music will last the test of time. I'm so sorry, but as much as I love her and the Parks Department in Pawnee, I gotta disagree.
You're such an April.
I don't know. Maybe I am. We'll see. One or two of their songs will last the test of time, but not the entire catalog. The songs are either not catchy enough, don't really work, or don't do anything exciting with the music. The only songs I liked on this album are when they shook things up by having a different singer and having entirely different instruments. Man, I wish that guy would have come back for more. I liked his singing a lot. Get him on more stuff. Maybe he would have been better on the more depressing songs, since he's got a really good ballad voice. Anyway, Squeeze music is here, and if you like it, I don't hate you. But personally, I'd rather stick to the tracks I know and love than pop in a whole album and crank it up.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I always kind of looked at like this and Argy Bargy as like their peak. I mean, they just had everything going on. It was kind of like they did it all and they did it right. And both those albums to me are just stone cold classics. I mean, I know you don't agree, but I don't know if it was, maybe you had to have been there. I don't know. But I think they're both great albums. Like I look at Archie Bargy as kind of like their Rubber Soul, and like I said, East Side Story, it's definitely their one album version of the White Album.
Yeah, I agree
and the
with
thing is,
that.
it's like, this was considered the long album at the time, because it clocked in at like over 47 minutes, which back then was kind of unheard of. You got like 40 minutes at the most. And to be able to cram 14 songs on, it was just really impressive. And it kind of has that sprawling feel of the White Album. Granted, like I said, it's just one record and that's it, but it definitely...
Well,
I think it definitely takes you on a journey.
Yeah, but I'd rather listen to the White Album than this, and that's saying something considering I'm not a huge fan of the White Album.
Well, I guess we're just going to agree to disagree on this one.
All right.
I think it's, one of the classic albums ever, and I swear I'm going to find those pins someday.
All right, well, let's wrap up this podcast so you can go pin hunting. All right. Thank you as always for listening to another episode of My Dad Listens to This. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you didn't like it, too bad. We're going to be making more of these, especially now since we're both home together. If you want to let us know how you felt, do leave us a comment below. If you want to be notified for when our episodes come out, please do tap the subscribe button or hit the bell if you want to be notified right away. If you follow me on Facebook, I post all the episodes on Facebook. If you follow me on Twitter, I post all the episodes on Twitter. If you follow me on Tumblr, at My Dad Listens to This for my side blog, or Eric's Angel 666, I post it on the My Dad Listens to This Tumblr blog. And if you are friends with my dad and want to get the episodes through him, I can have him email the episodes to you. And we will be back next time with another album to pick and gripe about. Anything you want to say to our loyal viewers, Dad?
Yes, East Side Story is better than West Side Story.
We're going to have a fight as soon as this microphone is turned off. All right, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for listening. I need to defend Bernstein and Sondheim now.